Hello guys, so in today's video I'm actually going to be sitting down with you and telling you all about some of the cons after having my gastric bypass surgery. So for those of you who are new here, hello, I'm Catherine and I had a gastric bypass almost 2 years ago now. I'm actually 1 month short of 2 years post-op. I've lost around 130 pounds in total, and I also had this surgery alongside my husband Dean, who has lost nearly 14 stone. It's actually incredible. And I have been documenting this journey on this channel and have a full playlist from my surgery date all the way up to different updates along my journey, and I thought it was about time I did a proper sit down kind of catch up and let you guys know who have been following along on the journey, or maybe you're curious this far post-op, and some complications we have run into and some pretty dangerous complications as well. I also have been collecting questions because I will be doing a Q&A in an upcoming video, so if any questions pop up and I don't answer them in this video, feel free to leave some questions in the comments below because I'm going to collect them and do one big giant Q&A. Stick around and hit subscribe because I will be delving into that in more detail. So yeah, as I say, I am nearly 2 years post-op, and oh my goodness, when I say that this 2 years has flown by, I am not over exaggerating. I actually feel like a totally different person, if I'm being honest. I have actually been doing YouTube for years now and actually had a main channel called Katnipp where I documented my small business journey. So I have really kind of lost weight in front of an audience. I have battled with my weight my whole teenage and adult life. My weight just ballooned, and I have also struggled with hormonal issues, and in my early 20s and 20s in general, I got more and more unhealthy and my health issues got more and more out of control. And me and my husband Dean have actually been trying for a baby since I was 22. I'm almost 33 and we haven't been able to conceive naturally. And after struggling with every single diet under the sun, I mean every single diet, I've been on everything, and what would happen would be I would lose weight and then I would gain weight, and I was just completely stuck in the cycle of yo-yo dieting. And when I hit 30 and realised, okay, I haven't been able to conceive naturally and my weight is probably or almost definitely contributing towards this, and also I haven't been able to lose the weight and keep it off even though I've been actively trying since my early teenagers. I really needed some help, so that's when I decided to go and opt for a gastric bypass. It wasn't a light decision, and it is something that has its risks, which I will talk about because we have experienced some risks. Me and Dean unfortunately haven't been able to still fall pregnant despite losing the weight, but it has only been nearly 2 years post-op, and we didn't start actively trying again until around 6 months ago because we didn't want to fall pregnant too early after surgery, because I wasn't consuming enough calories. In case I did fall pregnant, I didn't want to damage the baby in any way, or I didn't want to not be able to get the nutrients in and nourish my body and my baby at the same time. So we decided to wait until I lost the bulk of the weight and I could eat normal or healthier amount, and then once I felt like I was at kind of a stable weight, my weight loss had stopped or slowed right down and I could kind of eat more foods, that's when we decided to try conceive. Unfortunately for us, that hasn't happened just yet, so we will need to probably look into this further and probably delve into why we are still struggling with fertility issues. But I do think that I've put myself in a really good situation because I have got my BMI down. I'm currently at a BMI of 26. Although I'm just slightly in the overweight section, I do feel like that puts me in the good category of potentially going for something like IVF or fertility treatments from the doctor, which I wouldn't have been able to do if I was the size I was before. Fingers crossed for that. That's the update of that, and one of the reasons that I decided to opt for this operation in the first place. And I did a lot of research before getting this. This is not a surgery you just do just to aesthetically look good. This is life-changing and body-altering surgery that you cannot undo, and a very serious surgery that you will undertake. I'm talking about a serious surgery that you can undertake. Obviously, I've had the benefits of weight loss and feeling much healthier and lighter, but I do want to talk about the cons. As we've gone on in our journey, there has been some cons that have propped up, and I think if anyone's watching these videos and just sees all the pros and the happiness and, you know, all the joy that it brings, they need to also balance out the cons as well. And when I was researching my surgery, and I was researching the surgery for over 5 years before I finally took the plunge to do it, I used to watch a lot of pro and con videos, and then I can make it up for myself. So I wanted to share it with you guys if you are in the researching phase, or maybe you're just curious, or maybe you've had it and you're going through these yourself. Hopefully you're not, or you're just curious in general. So con number one is something I have talked about before, and that is hair loss. This is something that I actually was underprepared for, and something I wasn't bothered about when I first signed up for this surgery. If I'm being honest, I didn't realize how much this would actually affect my mental health. Like, I genuinely didn't. The hair loss, I was like, yeah, I'll just wear a wig or whatever. But until you actually experience hair loss and get people noticing the hair loss, that's when it starts like playing at you a little bit. I already had really thin, rubbish hair, to be honest, and I think in my 20s, because of my hormones, I started losing a lot of my hair anyway. So I actually started noticing the hair loss pretty bad at around 7 months post-op. This is when it really became apparent. I've always had kind of hair falling out in the shower and stuff. This was where I actually started physically seeing it, and I actually got comments made. One on social media, because I did YouTube videos, people would like comment about my fringe, and because that's, I feel like because I had a fringe, that's where you could visibly see it, because it basically snapped off to like non-existent. Like, I had like 2 wisps on the top of my head at one point, and I really noticed it when I went to Poland, actually, on the Poland travel vlog. And then also I started getting comments off family as well. I remember my cousin just saying something like, I really like your really cool edgy fringe, and I was like, I am not trying to be cool or edgy with this fringe. I'm not gonna lie. I've always had a fringe, and I've actually tried to cut in this fringe with some of the regrowth, but I don't know if you can see it, there's still some regrowth that's at a short length, and it still looks kind of crappy. So I'm just trying to sweep it to the side. I've also done a bit of a crappy job, because there's no point in going to the hairdressers, because I literally have about 2 strands of hair on my actual head. So that is one thing that I did struggle with, and you should be prepared for if you undergo surgery. I really mitigated this risk, because I was like, I don't care. I'm still happy I did it, obviously, but I didn't realise how much it would actually affect me. It's hard to hide in extensions and everything else. And the way I actually hide it, or I try and make myself feel a little bit more confident, is I actually installed 2 tapes in the front of my hair to give me some thickness to the front. And then I also wear a halo extension set on the top of my head. So this halo extension set means that it's not pulling at my hair anymore than it needs to, because originally at around 7 months post-op, I was wearing a full set of tape-ins in my hair, and I just feel like that extra added weight of the tape-ins was probably not helping and contributing to the hair loss even more, even though I was careful to remove them and install them back in. So now all I do is 2 tape-ins on each side, or actually 1.5 it is. I cut it in half, so 1.5 on each side to fill out the front bits, and then I top it off with my halo extension, which just kind of like sits on the top and has 2 little clips that you can use, or you can just have them hanging on the top. I like to use the clips just to feel a little bit more secure. I have wore these halos in a theme park. I got both of mine off Amazon. This is the 18-inch set. I will say it's probably, if you've got thick hair and you're wanting to thicken it out, it's probably not the best set. There is better sets online, but this is just an Amazon one. Because I got thin hair anyway, I feel like thinner extensions make it look a little more natural, but it is sometimes hard to blend in, because I have like naturally wavy frizzy hair, and what happens is, because I've got loads of random short little bits like this that literally stick out like Gollum or something, when the humidity hits it, it starts like frizzing up, and I start like getting all these like bunches. You'll probably see it if you watch my vlogs and my travel vlogs or my business vlogs. You probably see it happening. Like, it's hard to blend in because my hair is just so many different lengths, but it is what it is. It's what I'm working with right now, and this is the best solution I've found so far. So that is how I've been dealing with hair loss. That being said, I would still obviously get the surgery and suffer with the hair loss. I've also been experimenting with wigs as well, but I still haven't found the confidence to fully wear them. I've worn them on some nights out and one day at work, but I still haven't found the confidence just yet to like just fully rock a wig. I'd love any tips for you wig wearers out there as well. For the hair loss, I've had a lot of recommendations on this, the rosemary oil, the biotin, all this sort of stuff. I do take my multivitamins and supplements, and I make sure to keep on top of that, and I think now it's just a case of waiting for it to grow out. Con number 2 that I found is my loose skin. So with any large amount of weight, unless you're extremely lucky, you are going to be dealing with loose skin. That being said, I have seen so many comments online and in person of people who are so scared to lose weight because of loose skin. And I am here to tell you that I will take this loose skin over being the size I was any day, because at the size I was extremely unhealthy. I dealt with sleep apnea, my physical size gave me a lot of pain and aches, and I was very uncomfortable, and I would take that over my loose skin every day. Stick them in some knickers and Bob's your uncle, you're good to go, do you know what I mean? But that being said, it does affect you in some ways. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it is sometimes disheartening, and I get a lot of questions about whether I want to go the surgical route of removing like a tummy tuck, and I do actually want to go down that route eventually. However, we do want to have children, so we've kind of been tossing up, because I am getting older, whether we get a tummy tuck and I then have to postpone having children or the fertility treatments for another year because I'll have to wait till it fully heals before getting pregnant, or whether I wait to have my children and then not look into getting the tummy tuck for another 5, 6, 7 years time. Because there is something that I'm dealing with right now, and that is I am kind of stuck at my weight at the moment, and to be honest, when I look at the rest of my body, I don't feel like I actually need to lose any more physical weight, but I still sometimes feel big and like I've got more weight to lose because of how large my tummy is. But I've come to realize, I think a lot of this, or the majority of it, is actually loose skin. So I currently wear a size 14, and depending on where I shop, a 16. And because I've got a big tummy with a lot of loose skin on it, it's sometimes difficult to find like stuff that comfortably fits here. Or sometimes things will be like baggy up here, like my arms and everything, but tight on my tummy. I can really kind of like squish it around, and when I bend over, you can just kind of see the skin fall. I held a lot of weight in my stomach. I always had relatively smaller legs and arms compared to my stomach. My stomach was very big when I was nearly 22 stone. So I expected this, but I didn't expect how big it would still be when I had loose skin. So I still have a lot of loose skin, and you can see it in clothes. It just looks like I need to lose a little bit more weight. But the problem with that is I'm worried about losing any more weight and then becoming kind of bony everywhere else, because after seeing and speaking to people who have lost a considerable amount of weight and then had surgical intervention to get their excess skin removed, some of these people have lost between 18 to 25 pounds of skin, which is insane. That would mean that I'm already at my target weight if I got this loose skin surgically removed. So there is a part of me that actually might want to go to a surgeon just to see if it is some fat under there that I need to still lose, or whether I am just dealing with loose skin and I'm just going to have to deal with it or get surgical intervention, because it's hard to know honestly if it's fat or loose skin. But I kind of know deep in my heart, like when I bend over, it's just a big sack of skin, and it's mainly on my tummy, and I also have a lot of loose skin, especially on the top of my thighs, and I also have loose skin on my arms, but my arms actually don't bother me quite as much. I haven't got anything on to show you, but it definitely is there. Like if my loose skin wasn't there, it'd be much smaller probably. So yeah, that's another con, but also something that would not put me off doing this again. Like, it's something that I was prepared for, and I would take this loose skin over being as uncomfortable and as unhealthy as I was prior to losing the weight. If you're letting loose skin hold you back, please don't, because your health is much more important, your movability and your comfort is more important as well than the aesthetics of loose skin. Brings me on to my next point, which is the mental health aspect of losing so much weight. So this year I have actually started seeking therapy, which I probably should have done a long time ago. I actually did therapy with a friend before, but obviously therapy and friends doesn't work quite so well. I've always wanted to get back into therapy, and I actually began this year, which has been really helpful. And I was starting to look at like online therapy options to see what would be best for me, and that's where I came across BetterHelp, who were very kindly the paid partners of today's video. So a huge thank you to BetterHelp. The thing I actually really liked with BetterHelp is the fact that because I move and I travel, I couldn't tie myself to weekly therapy sessions sat in an office. It just wasn't going to work with me, it wasn't going to work with my lifestyle. Also the fact I'm from a really small area, so I have like a really small limited amount of therapists to choose from, do you know what I mean? But with BetterHelp, it means that I can get connected with a lot more credentialed therapists across the whole of the UK. And not just that, I can pick a time that suits me. I can be on the road and I can still do my therapy sessions and turn up once a week, and this just is so much better for me. It was super easy to set up too. I filled in a simple questionnaire, and BetterHelp connects you with a credentialed therapist they think is the perfect fit. In therapy, it's also quite common to change up therapists to get your perfect match too, and BetterHelp also makes it simple, which I really appreciate. And I also like the way I can choose whether to video call, phone, or simply just message. And my goals with therapy was to learn to accept myself, to love myself as I am, and it's been something I've been working towards. And to be honest, when I think about my weight loss journey, it actually really began when I started accepting myself for who I am. So I think that is a really important step, not to just be like so focused on your looks, because it's hard in your early teenagers and your early 20s. And I grew up in the 90s, so body image was a big thing at the time. If you weren't like flat washboard abs, you weren't seen as like cool or whatever. We are now in a much more open and diverse and more progressive body image society, which makes me so happy. Believing in myself and just having more self-love, and that's something that I'm hoping to expand upon with therapy. If you guys would also like to check out BetterHelp, they're offering 10% off the first month, so you can try it out for yourself, see if it works for you, see if it helps you a little bit. I'll also leave a link in the description, so a huge thank you to BetterHelp. But yeah, the mental health aspect side of things is really important, and something I want to work towards going forward. The self-acceptance, the self-love. And one thing as well that affects you with your mental health is just how different you feel, but also how rapidly you get used to the new you. It's very strange. I feel like I've been 4 different types of people in 2 years. Like literally 4 different people in 2 years, because you change along the way. And I've also had braces put in as well, so that has made a change to my face and my teeth, and I feel like I've been on this journey. What doesn't occur to you is how used to it and how quickly you get used to the new person, and also how much it opens possibilities to become even better, to level up even more. And that's something I need to work on as well. Like I'm always a kind of goal oriented person. I always have been, making little steps, little tiny steps to progress, to become like the best version of myself. And that's what I've slowly been working towards the last 5 years, like bettering yourself and like, oh well, now I can do this and now I can do that. But also I need to realize when is enough, when is the end goal. Honestly, it has so much potential, because maybe I could pick up a new hobby. For example, one of the things that I had on my little notes list that I would love to do is ice skating. And guess what I did today? I went ice skating for the very first time. So it's things like that that I would just not have been able to do the size I was before, because 1, I probably would have broke my ankle, and 2, I wouldn't have been fit enough to do it, because I didn't realise, guys, how much of a workout ice skating is, but it means I could level up in that area. I could pick a new sports hobby. I could work on my fitness goals, and there's just so many more things I could do. And now I feel like the world is my oyster. Like, oh my gosh, well, maybe I could become a professional ice skater. Definitely not, by the way. I was like Bambi on ice. It was embarrassing. But anyway, you get my point. There is always ways I can grow, and it does open up a lot more doors. So those are some of the cons that I have personally found out. The next con I want to talk about is also anxiety, which also links into the previous point of mental health. This is something that I didn't really hear anyone speak of, but I have struggled with anxiety and overthinking anyway, so I don't know if it's just something that I'm really prone to. After having my bypass, because I've never been in hospital before, I've never had surgery before, and it was such a big deal, I've actually had my stomach cut up into different pieces and rerouted. And now I don't have the same internal organ system as the average person. And sometimes that gives me anxiety. I don't know what it is. This is just me being honest. Like, sometimes I'm like, have I done the right thing? Of course I have. Otherwise I would never have been this size, because I could never get there, and I tried for literally years. I just wanted to be honest, because that is something that I have actually struggled with. I've struggled with, oh my goodness, sometimes I'll get a wave of anxiety and I'm like, I actually had a gastric bypass. Like, what if it suddenly goes wrong? And what if it, like, something happens and then I regret it? But I have yet to, touch wood, I have yet to regret it. But I just wanted to share that with you, because that is actually something that I have struggled with. I don't know what it is. Let me know if you've had it, if you ever think that. I don't know, maybe I'm just an overthinker. But there is a good reason why it has brought up some anxiety, and that is because we have had hospitalizations since the gastric bypass, which is much more serious, and wanted to go into actual dangerous complications that have happened after a gastric bypass. This was actually my husband's gastric bypass experience. So we had our bypasses 1 month apart in total, and Dean has actually been hospitalized twice since his bypass, and has actually struggled after surgery a lot more than me. Like, my recovery was a breeze compared to Dean. So let's start at the beginning with Dean, because I haven't really shared that sort of thing. Right from the get-go, Dean could not handle as much liquid or as much food as I could at different post-op stages. And one thing he also did struggle with was vomiting a lot. He did throw up a lot, food seemed to get stuck there a lot, and he just couldn't keep food down as much. We actually went away to Leeds Festival. It was actually, we were in the camper van. This was about a year and a half after his operation. He started to get weaker and weaker and more paler, and he actually went to the doctors and he found out that he had really low iron. So we were a bit like, oh, this isn't good. So we bought some low iron, but Dean being Dean and just getting on with it, he didn't chase this up. Should have chased this up and went to the doctors and got a proper diagnosis as to what was causing such extreme iron loss, because obviously as a gastric bypass patient you have to be on multivitamins for life and be vigilant with this, and we were. We noticed him starting to have low iron. He started getting really pasty, he started getting really pale and drawn in the face, and then people started making comments, even me, where it's like, oh Dean, are you alright? You're looking really sickly. And also he was getting really gaunt and losing a lot of weight, like below his target weight, and this is when things started going wrong. So we came back from Leeds Festival, he started feeling really ill, and luckily we got back from that trip. The day after getting back, he woke up really early in the morning in the most intense pain I have ever seen someone go through in my whole entire life. Like, I mean, he was buckled over in pain. Not only that, he threw up with how much pain he was actually undergoing. His whole body was taken in. And then I started to panic. I was like, what the heck is going on? We need to go to A&E right now. So then we drive to A&E, which is like a 20-minute drive, and I try and walk him in, and then he's literally in that much pain, he just stops at a wall and throws up all down the wall, and I am just like freaking out. I am like, what on earth is happening right now? What is going on? Has something happened? Has he got a ruptured? Like, what is happening? They rushed Dean straight in because he finally managed to make his way in, and the scene, how hasty and drawn he was, turns out that he'd actually developed a kidney stone. Kidney stones sound absolutely brutal. Apparently they are really, really painful. Touch wood, it's not something that I've ever experienced, and it's not something after seeing Dean that I ever want to experience, if I'm being totally honest, because it seemed absolutely horrendous. Luckily, he passed the stone, so that was all good. He wasn't being vigilant with the amount of water and fluids he was drinking. He basically was not drinking enough, but he was getting a lot of protein in, which sometimes can also contribute as well. So extreme protein, like protein shakes and stuff, topped with dehydration equaled kidney stone. At least that's what we concluded. And then a few months after his kidney stone, he actually went on a lovely trip to France. You can watch all those vlogs. And he was still feeling a bit weak. He still couldn't handle a lot of food. And we used to always have emergency chicken, is what Dean used to call it. Emergency snacks, because he used to get this really bad pain in his stomach if he didn't eat often enough. So he had to eat really little and often. And to be honest, neither of us realized that this was an actual issue. We just thought it was how his gastric bypass was healing. He was really bad, like it literally would give him a lot of pain, but it eased up when he ate. So he would literally eat little, but every hour or so, and he couldn't eat the portions I could, even after a year and a half out. And I used to sometimes think, am I eating too much after my gastric bypass? Have I stretched out my gastric bypass? Like, why can I handle this big salad and he can barely even eat half a chicken fillet? Like, this is not normal. And he kept losing weight, becoming more and more gone. And then what happened is, luckily, but also unluckily, because obviously it's never a good time to get ill, let's face it, we got back from France, and then he woke up in the middle of the night with pain and he ate his meals. Oh, that's another thing that used to happen as well. He used to wake up in the middle of the night. Like, I'm not just talking every hour during our waking hour. He used to literally wake up in the middle of the night and eat as well. So he used to go downstairs at 1, 2, 3 in the morning and get little snacks, often cheese strings, Baby Bell, something that was easy to eat because he couldn't eat a lot. But this day we got up on the morning and we were due to go to London 2 days after, and he was really weak and lethargic and tired, and he went into the shower and he nearly passed out. And then he went to the toilet and ended up having a very smelly and very black poop. And we didn't know anything about this at the time, but this is actually a sign of a lot of blood in your stool, called melena or something like that. He literally just went about his day. We went to work. He worked all day that day. I don't know how, but he was feeling very weak and very tired that day. And then we came home that night and he went to the toilet again and it was bad again. And I was like, I think you need to ring 111 just to double check what's going on here, because you nearly passed out this morning and that is not a good sign. Dean is very much a like, just carry on, but get on with it and not worry about it. So we did end up ringing 111 and they were like, yeah, we're going to dispatch an ambulance for you ASAP. And we were like, what? Then we started freaking out a little bit and we were like, okay, well, we can drive ourselves. We don't want to waste an ambulance resources. And then he proceeded to get hospitalized for over 5 days because they found a pretty bad ulcer on his join of his pouch and his intestine, his new join, through surgery. And these are actually quite a common complication of gastric bypass surgery, and obviously ulcers can happen to anyone, but this specifically was a marginal ulcer and actually formed on his new join. So we actually think he might have developed this way back, like way back, right at the beginning. And if he chased up his iron, he might have been losing a little bit of blood over time, which was slowly depleting his iron internally, but then digesting it. And then obviously it got so bad a year and a half later that, this is what we're guessing anyway, that it then just bled loads and he was internally bleeding. And we think that's what's happened. And he probably had this ulcer for a very long time. He then had lansoprazole, I think it was, lansoprazole, like through an endoscopy inserted into his stomach while he was still awake, which sounds absolutely horrendous. Chewed down his stomach and they squirted a load of lansoprazole, basically antacids. He had to wait in hospital until his ulcer was no longer bleeding. He was then given a dose of omeprazole, or omeprazole, sorry, I always say it wrong, which is basically a PPI or a proton pump inhibitor, and it stops the acid of your stomach to help it heal. And now he's perfectly normal. He can eat a lot more. He can eat the same amount as me. Like, and this is how he should have been right from the get-go. His iron is much better. His blood levels are much better. He had to have an iron infusion, actually, now that I mention it, after that because of his heavy internal bleeding. And he has got colour in his face. He's actually gained a bit of weight and he's just feeling a lot more better in himself. So that is just what has happened between me and Dean. We had totally different gastric bypass experiences, but this is a major surgery that goes beyond just the aesthetics of looking good. You have to outweigh the pros and the cons for you if it's going to work for you. That being said, both me and Dean would not change it for the world. Even despite Dean having his ulcer complications like his kidney stone, he would still opt for the bypass, and I would still opt for the bypass too because of how much of a lease of life it's personally gave us. But you should really take these into consideration when thinking about this weight loss surgery, and especially not one to take just because you don't like the aesthetics of how you look. It should really be taken into consideration if it really is going to prolong your life, make your life happier and healthier, give you a lot more fulfillment, and really change your life for the better. That being said, it has been one of the best things for my health that I have done in my adult life, and I'm just hoping now that we should be able to conceive. Fingers crossed. I'm sure if you stick around on this channel, I'll be doing a much bigger Q&A. So if you want to see our full journey, you can go back and start right from the very beginning where I flew out to Lithuania to go to Nord Bariatric. And also, if you are thinking about Nord Bariatrics too, please feel free to contact my husband because I do like a partner program as well. If there's any questions that you guys have I didn't end up covering in this video, please let me know in the comments below because I am collecting them all and I am going to do a big bypass Q&A video. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I love you. Goodbye.